science learners out there. Welcome to DepEd TV. I am Ma'am Maricon, your grade 7 science teacher, and I am here to help you be Sci-Connected. How are you today? I hope that everyone is fit and fine. Come and join me. Let's discover the wonders of science. Before we start, make sure you have your pen, paper, and self-learning module with you. Oh, let's have a recap. Let's review what we have talked about last episode. What are the properties of an element? Elements are pure chemical substances made of the same type of atom. What about the properties of a compound? Compounds contains atoms of different elements that are chemically combined. Composition of compounds can be separated through a chemical process. Congratulations! You are now ready to answer these questions. Prepare your pen and paper. Are you ready? You will just read the questions to be flashed on the screen and write the letter of your answer in your paper. So, let's start! Question number 1. It is known as the simplest form of matter. A. Compound. B. Element. C. Mixture. D. Substance. A substance known as the simplest form of matter is element. The answer is letter B. Question number 2. It is a substance that can be broken down into 2 or more components. A. Compound. B. Element. C. Mixture. D. Substance. A compound can be broken down into 2 or more components through a chemical process. The answer is letter A. Question number 3. The following are found in an ingredients label. Which is an element? A. Iron. B. Oxide. C. Sorbate. D. Sulfate. In the list of the given ingredients, all are compounds except for iron, which is an element. The correct answer is letter A. Question number 4. Sodium chloride is a combination of sodium and blank. A. Carbon. B. Chlorine. C. Fluorine. D. Iodine. Sodium chloride is a combination of elements sodium and chlorine. It is known as table salt. The right answer is letter B. Question number 5. Which of the following is not a property of a compound? A. Pure chemical substance made of the same type of atom. B. Composed of 2 or more types of atoms. C. Can be separated through chemical process. D. Composed of 2 or more types of substances. Compounds are composed of 2 or more types of atoms or substances and can be separated through a chemical process. So, among the choices, letter A is the answer. Pure chemical substance made of the same type of atom is describing an element. I hope that you have understood the differences between elements and compounds. And I congratulate you to your achievements. Do you have any idea what will be our lesson for today? Today, we will classify elements from compounds. Your learning goals for today's lesson are: Number 1, classify elements from a compound. Number 2, identify elements and compounds found in the food that you eat. Number 3, understand that elements and compounds are essential for life. Have you entered a science laboratory in your school? Come on! I'll show you a science laboratory. I will be sharing one scenario in a science laboratory. So, you have to listen and take down notes because you might use those information in our next activity. Are you ready? Let's go! On the first day of our science class, our teacher toured us in the science laboratory. The teacher instructed us to roam around and observe the laboratory room. Surprisingly, I saw a hanging cabinet full of substances. I observed it for a while. Then, the teacher called the attention of the class to be seated. He asked any volunteer to share what we have observed. After which, he posted our lesson, and it was all about classifying elements and compounds. While I was on my seat, I remembered the materials found on the cabinet. Do you have any idea what's in the box? Inside the box are the substances that are found in the cabinet. There are iron, sodium chloride, sulfur, carbon, magnesium ribbon, sugar, oil, baking soda, copper, aluminum, distilled water, and chlorine. Classify which among them are elements and compounds. I will give you enough time to accomplish it. Here are the elements: iron, sulfur, carbon, magnesium ribbon, copper, aluminum, and chlorine. Now, here are the compounds: sodium chloride, sugar, oil, baking soda, distilled water. That activity helped you recall your prior knowledge about Lesson 1, Lesson 2, and Lesson 3. It is easy, right? Elements are single substances. You can easily see them in a periodic table if you have it at your home. From the list, iron is one of the examples of elements because it is a single substance with one atom and it is present in a periodic table. Also from the list, sodium chloride is one of the examples of compound because it is a combination of two elements, namely sodium and chlorine with two or more atoms. Therefore, an element cannot be broken down anymore, while compound can be broken down to its constituent elements through a chemical process. Since we are talking about elements, let me give you a short science fact about gold. Did you know that gold is the only metal that is yellow or golden? Other metals may develop yellowish color, but only after they have oxidized or reacted with other chemicals. It's because of something called relativistic quantum chemistry. Gold's electrons move fast that they exhibit relativistic contraction, shifting the wavelength of light absorbed to blue and reflecting the opposite color golden. Gold is one of the rare metallic mineral resources that we have here in the Philippines. And that's the reason why gold is expensive. So, that's the short science fact with Maricon. Last episode, I asked you to look for a food product label of soy sauce. You may now bring it out so we can use it. Elements and compounds are also present in the food that we eat. They can be seen on the food labels known as nutrition facts and ingredients. Can you identify the substances on the food label? Some of these are sodium, monosodium glutamate, and potassium iodate. Monosodium glutamate or MSG is a combination of sodium and glutamic acid. Glutamic acid is a combination of 5 atoms of carbon, 9 atoms of hydrogen, 1 atom of nitrogen, and 4 atoms of oxygen. Potassium iodate is a combination of 1 atom of potassium, 1 atom of iodine, and 3 atoms of oxygen. Elements and compounds are all substances. They can be classified based on the number of atoms. Since all elements are the simplest form of matter, it has only one atom and cannot be broken down anymore. Compounds are combinations of 2 or more elements. Thus, it is composed of 2 or more atoms and it can be broken down. Let's have a short exercise. Prepare your pen and paper. You are going to read the sentence and classify the underlined word whether it is an element or a compound. Write letter E if the underlined word is an element and write letter C if it is a compound. Number 1. Karena brought a sample of iron in the class. The underlined word is iron. Iron is an element. The answer is letter E. Number 2. Keybird gave a piece of copper to his friend. The underlined word is copper, and it is an element. The answer is letter E. Number 3. Justin bought table salt on a nearby store. The underlined word is table salt, which is a compound. The right answer is letter C. Number 4. Micaela is fond of eating junk foods with sodium glutamate. The underlined word is sodium glutamate, which is an example of a compound. The correct answer is letter C. Number 5. Inigo borrowed an aluminum basin from her aunt. The underlined word is aluminum, which is an element. Letter E is the answer. I congratulate you! You are now ready for the final assessment of this lesson. Prepare your pen and paper. Read the questions to be flashed on the screen. Write the letter of your answer. Are you ready? Let's begin! Number 1. Compounds are formed when 2 or more blank are combined. A. Elements. B. Minerals. C. Nutrients. D. Food products. Compounds are formed when 2 or more elements are combined. So, the correct answer is letter A, elements. Number 2. The only compound present in the soy sauce is blank. A. Iron pyrophosphate. B. Monosodium glutamate. C. Sodium bicarbonate. D. Zinc sulfate. As mentioned earlier in our activity, the only element present in the soy sauce from the list is sodium glutamate. The answer is letter B. Number 3. How do you classify elements from compounds? A. Elements are single-atom substances. B. Compounds are composed of one type of atom. C. Compounds are composed of one element only. D. Elements are composed of two or more compounds. We can classify an element by its characteristics and properties. Elements are single-atom substances. The right answer is letter A. Number 4. Why is it important to be familiar with elements and compounds? A. To classify them accordingly. B. To tell others you know them. C. To enumerate elements and compounds. D. To be praised by others for knowing them. Being familiar with elements and compounds may help you classify them accordingly. And among the choices, the best answer is letter A. Number 5. Carbon dioxide, sodium chloride, sugar, and salt are examples of blank. A. Element. B. Compound. C. Nutrients. D. Food products. Carbon dioxide, sodium chloride, sugar, and salt are examples of compound. The correct answer is letter B. We are finally done with today's lesson, and I congratulate you for that. You're now ready for the next lesson. It looks like you really understood our lesson. You now know the characteristics, properties, as well as classifying elements and compounds. Elements and compounds are everywhere. Elements are present as the air that we breathe in and out. It is present on the things that we use, on the food that we eat, and even as essential minerals in our body. Now, it's time to be connected on one of our question senders in Sci Connected on DepEd TV page. Our question sender is Faith, 10 years old, from Francisco Holmes Elementary School, Schools Division of San Jose del Monte City. Her question is, why is there a rainbow? A rainbow is an optical phenomenon which appears when the sunlight and atmospheric conditions are just right and also when the viewer is in a perfect position. Light enters a water droplet. The light will reflect inside of the water droplet, separating into its component wavelength of colors. Remember that sunlight is made up of many wavelengths or colors of light. As the light exits the droplet, it makes a rainbow. Thank you so much for your questions, Faith. Hope that everyone gained additional information from it. If you have science questions, simply post it on Sci Connected on DepEd TV page. Kindly follow this format. Hope that everyone learned a new lesson today. Thank you so much for sticking with me and see you on the next episode. Again, this is Ma'am Maricon and Samin scientifically saying, think critically, do things differently, and that develop your ability.